everybody, it's Curtis, exhibits buyer for Ripley's Believe It or Not Again, and today I'd like to talk to you about the tallest man in recorded history, Robert Wadlow. So a few quick things about Robert Wadlow, and I think it's important we start with these. We've actually got some old footage of Robert Wadlow that I'd like to show you, and so we're going to kind of cut to that. I'll tell you some brief things about him, and then we're going to come back to look at these spectacular exhibits that relate back to him, and we're going to tease a little bit about here, because yes, those are a pair of Robert Wadlow shoes, and they not only have a fantastic story about him, but actually were a contributing factor to his death. But before we get into that, let's go ahead and cut to some footage of Robert Wadlow, and I'll tell you some fun stuff about it. Let's go to our projector footage. So Robert Wadlow was born February 22nd, 1918, and passed away July 15th, 1940 at the age of 22. Like I mentioned, we're going to come back to that in a little bit, and because his shoes were a contributing factor. But he was a relatively normal baby when he was born. 1 feet, 8 inches long, 8 pounds, 5 ounces, but he really started to grow rapidly. He was the oldest of 5 children. And actually, here's a little family photo of Robert Wadlow. You got him with some of his family members. While he was the oldest of 5 children, he was also very obviously the tallest, but none of his other siblings had any sort of growth abnormality or anything like that. Wadlow himself suffered from a pituitary gland problem that caused him to keep growing and growing and growing. It'd be much rarer in today's circumstances with modern technology, modern medicine. They could slow it down, stop it, and nobody's really going to reach this type of height because obviously, as you've noticed, when you have this type of height, a lot of health problems happen, and one of the reasons why he passed away so young. So by the age of 8, he had outgrown his father, which was about 6 feet tall. By the age of 12, he was 7 feet tall. And by the age of 15 or 16, he reached that 8-foot mark, topping out at 8 feet, 11.1 inches tall. This is a promotional postcard that was given out. It kind of shows Robert Wadlow standing next to a regular sized man, gives you a kind of an idea for scale. But this one is actually signed by Wadlow, which is a nice addition, to this piece. Along with these, I wanted to show you this. This is his original high school yearbook, and he's actually in here twice. The first one is as a student, basically a graduating class. Now, he was not graduating, unfortunately. He had some problems and was not able to graduate, but he was mentioned in the yearbook as the June class of 1935, and then it says not graduating here underneath his name. But I'm going to show you guys a little bit of a close-up of this because I think it's really neat. There is Robert Wadlow in his high school years, and there's his name down there in that yearbook for the June class of 35, but unfortunately was not graduating. Now, I mentioned he's in here twice. The first time is as a student. The second time is as somebody who helped basically make the yearbook. So it's a little bit more of a staff page, but there he is again, front and center, and I'm going to give you guys kind of another close-up of that. There he is, and his name down in here. Now, some people are probably asking, how did Robert Wadlow connect back to Robert Ripley? So Ripley met Robert Wadlow on a couple of occasions. Most famously on his radio talk show host, he interviewed him. And actually, for you diehard Ripley fans out there, we're going to play a little bit of this audio at the end of this video segment. It's hard to do overlaying with the video and everything, but if you want to stick around to the end, we're going to play a little audio clip of the original interview between Robert Ripley and Robert Wadlow. Wadlow, and I think you guys are really going to get a kick out of that, so stick around. Now we're going to finish up here with the most interesting exhibit on the table, obviously, his shoes. Now, I mentioned that not only do these kind of show the scale to which he was, but these also had a contributing factor in his death. So imagine being 8 feet 11 inches tall. Okay, you don't fit through regular doorways, you can't fit in regular cars. I mean, just traveling and moving about was astronomically difficult for him. So he needed to wear actually special braces on his legs to help him walk. Over time, those braces unfortunately wore away at his ankle, created a blister. That blister got infected, and that infection is ultimately what led to his death. It's kind of a sad story, but it is what happened. Now, to give you guys one more size of comparison, I think it'd be a great shot for me to pull my shoe off here and plop that right there. There's a 10.5 shoe next to Robert Wadlow's shoes. And I am actually going to get a nice shot of this here as well, because it will really show you the size difference. There is a size 10.5 shoe next to Robert Wadlow's shoes. That's cool. Now, I think another really good visual here is going to be for me to pick these up and show you the soles. Now, for you keen Ripley observers, you notice I'm wearing my special edition Ripley's Chucks here. Sorry that they're so worn, but I wear these almost every single day. They're my favorite shoes. There is a great visual as well to show you the difference in size of the sole of these shoes. Look at that. Imagine being 8.5 feet tall. Well, over 8.5 feet, almost 9 feet tall. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed this, the story of Robert Wadlow and everything, the world's tallest man, and I'm going to leave you with this cliffhanger, this little bit of a tease. Today we spent the day talking about the world's tallest man. I'd like you to keep an eye out for an upcoming video. Where we talk about this.
Believe it or not. With Ozzie Nelson and his orchestra, Shirley Lloyd, and, believe it or not, Robert Ripley.
Tonight I'm going to try to top you. I'm going to show you the biggest human being that ever walked the earth. This man, who is here with the here in New York today with the Ringling Brothers Circus, towers 8 feet 7 inches in the stratosphere. And here he is, the tallest man who ever lived, Robert Wadlow.
Thank you, Mr. Ripley.
Oh, Robert, this is Mr. Nelson.
Well, stand up, Mr. Nelson.
I am standing up. Hey, what is this?
I can't hear you down there.
Hey, Ben, will you get me that step ladder? Well, I'll move it a little closer to the mic. Maybe you can climb up. Oh, Ben, I don't know what I'd do without you. Okay. All right, Robert, here I am right up here to talk things over with. See, Robert, here's a very nice fellow, and I want you two boys to be friends. Friends? Why, I wouldn't hurt you in the world.
Thanks, Mr. Nelson.
You know, young Mr. Wadlow here is only 19 years old, but he is 8 feet 7 inches tall. And scientists predict that he will grow for 3 years more and attain the unbelievable height of 10 feet. That's taller than Goliath, the biblical god, who is only 9 feet 9. You say he's only 19 years old, Bob? Yes, only 19 years old.
I would rather you wouldn't mention it, Mr. Nelson. You see, I'm kind of self-conscious about my age.
All right. Robert, tell me, do you mind people staring at you when you're walking out on the street?
Oh, no, I just overlooked them.
You know, back home, Robert is just like any normal 19-year-old boy, except, of course, for his size. He was graduated from high school, and already has finished his first year in college. Do you go in for sports, Robert?
I played basketball.
Oh. What position did you play, Robert?
I was the dropper.
A dropper?
Yes, you see, they threw me the ball, and I just scooped over and dropped it in the basket.
Well, how were you in the classroom?
I could never answer the teacher's questions. The ceiling was too low.
Ceiling? What did the ceiling have to do with it?
I couldn't raise my hand.
Oh. Say, Robert, tell me, what do you do for exercise?
I walked.
Walk? From coast to coast, I suppose.
Yeah, for the first 10 minutes.
You know, in spite of Robert's enormous size, Ozzie, he eats no more than anyone else. He eats no more than his parents or his brothers and sisters, all of whom are of normal size.
Did he require any special... How is it down there, Bob, all right? Did he require any special care?
No, his parents brought him up.
I think they kind of overdid it, though.
Say, Robert, will you tell Mr. Nelson about the time you were invited to that cocktail party? You know that time when one guest had a highball too many?
What, did he offer to fix Robert a tall one?
No, he just took one pop-eyed look at me and said, raised his trembling hand, he said, I'll never touch another drop.
Well, you couldn't blame him for that. Thank you, Robert, and good night.
Good night, Mr. Ripley. So long, Scotty.